of St. Martin's Episcopal Church. Thank you for being here.
Council members, let us pray. Almighty God, we take a moment to pause and reflect. We gather this afternoon in service to the people of Westlake. We're mindful that this Holy Week for many is a time of reflection, renewal, and resurrection. In this season, we remember the values of humility, compassion, and hope that resonate across many traditions. May these values shape our words and guide our decisions today. Let us remember that leadership is an act of service, and our shared purpose is to build a community where all can flourish. May we approach this work with open minds, generous spirits, and deep respect for one another. May we be united in our commitment to justice, to neighborliness, and to the common good. All this we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you again. Please rise and join me to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag.
Hi everybody, tonight we are so happy to have 4 of our Academy students here with us. We have Victoria Sellers from kindergarten, and Ella Yassar from 6th grade, and Darren Yassar from 9th grade, and Spencer Yassar from 11th grade. Thank you all so much for being here. So we're going to have you all lead both of the pledges. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We gotta get a picture.
Are there any citizen parent comments? We will move on. Mr. Sasser, items of community interest.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Let me preface this by saying you guys are going to be sick of me after the end of this because this may be thank you for saying that. That's very kind. This may be the longest items of community interest ever because we have so many exciting things going on here at the town and the academy here in the next 5 weeks. I do want to say that this is all in your packet, so I'm going to buzz through this pretty quick for the interest of time, and I just emailed it to you as well as reference, so if you guys have any questions, you can refer to those as well. So let's start off with later this week where the Town Hall and Municipal Court will be closed in observance of Good Friday. That's on April 18th. Our first Westlake Together Spring Concert will be on Thursday, April 24th from 5:30 to 7:30, right out here behind you guys. The name of the band is Project 2. They're an 80s band, so it should be a lot of fun. They're 8-piece bands, so there's going to bring a lot of instruments, a lot of singers, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Last year's were highly successful, and we hope to repeat that again as well. So there's going to be a lot of foods, drinks, games for the kids, and so forth, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Moving over to the Academy, we've got our junior high athletic banquet on Tuesday, April 29th at 6 p.m. at the MPH building. National Day of Prayer, Thursday, May 1st at 12 o'clock at church at Trophy Lake. We see the mayor here. Yes, thank you guys. So that's going to be really exciting. Fire Station Open House, Saturday, May 3rd from 10 to 2. If you guys remember last year, we had the open house. Chief and the entire fire department did a phenomenal job. It was an ultimate community event. Dr. White, you were there as well, and it was a lot of fun. We had hundreds of people there. We hope to repeat that as well.
When is that, John?
May 3rd from 10 to 2. That's a Saturday. And then we're going to double it up here with you guys. Bandana Bonanza is later that night from 5 to 7 on the Westlake Academy campus as well. So both are on May 3rd. Next planning and zoning meeting is going to be Tuesday, May 6th. The junior varsity athletic banquet is going to be Tuesday, May 6th at 6 p.m. at the Bowden in Keller. And then we've got our big gala, 2025, the night at the Improv theme. That's going to be Friday, May 9th from 6:30 to 10:30. It's going to be at the Marriott here in Westlake. Then our second spring concert is going to be on May 15th. That's a Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30. And that's going to be the sounds of the 90s. So we've got a theme going, 80s, 90s, the whole deal. So again, that's going to be right out here behind us. And then our next town council meeting is going to be Tuesday, May 20th at 4 o'clock. And then finally, our town hall municipal court will be closed in observance for Memorial Day on May 26th. Now here's where I'm going to buzz through really quickly. All this information can be found on the WA website, but there's a lot of exciting things going on, especially the week leading up to graduation. So we got the middle school and high school award ceremony on the 21st at 9 and 1 p.m. in the gym. The senior banquet's going to be on the 21st at 6 o'clock at the Bowden and Keller. The baccalaureate is the 22nd at 8 a.m. in the gym. Senior clap out is also on the 22nd. That's at 9 a.m. Senior awards, the 22nd at 9:30 in the gym. The bricklaying, which is always one of the coolest and most emotional things about sending off our seniors, that's going to be on the 22nd after the senior awards. And then, of course, graduation is the 24th, which is a Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Hearst Conference Center. A couple of other quick notes here. If you are a Westlake resident and you would like to send your child to WA for the first time, we need to contact the school's registrar, here's Darcy McFarlane right here, to let them know that you'll be coming for the 25-26 school year. There's still plenty of time to do that, but we'll be posting information on our website and social media channels as well, communicate as well, with more information soon. And then finally, the Continuum exhibition at the Academy for Grade 5 will be held on April 30th from 4:30 to 6:30 in the gym, the MPH, and the PYP2 classrooms. This is a chance for students to show off all of their hard work on their projects. In fact, one particular project caught the eye of a local news station. So let's take a look.
Oh, excellent.
Let's talk measles here, because that outbreak is still spreading across Texas, with an infected person spending time in DFW last month, but no official cases here. Latest numbers, though, that we got from state health officials today brings our cases to 541. That is since this outbreak started in late January. Most of them are in West Texas, the Gaines County, Lubbock area. There's also where the 2 deaths of unvaccinated children have been connected to the virus. A handful of measles cases, though, have also been reported in Erath and Lamar counties, a little closer to DFW. But as we start to see those cases rise in Texas, adults and children both are taking notice. Our Nicole Nielsen got a heartfelt letter from a group of 5th graders who say they want to take action.
Dear Miss Nielsen, we're 5th graders at Westlake Academy researching pandemics.
Yeah, I wanted to contact the news because we wanted to spread the awareness to get a vaccine, so then the rates would go down a little and maybe measles would go away.
It was the first line of a letter from 3 determined 5th graders deep in a school project about measles.
Biggest thing I've probably learned is vaccines help so much.
Every year, 5th grade students at Westlake Academy complete an exhibition project, a chance to dive into real-world issues before heading into middle school. This year, these 3 chose to study pandemics, and with measles cases on the rise, what they learned concerned them.
They've noticed that, some children have died from it, and that's very alarming to them.
An exposure was reported in Grapevine.
And they worried that maybe if we don't get this spread under control, it could become out of control.
Each Friday and Tuesday, the numbers from the state are updated, and the students monitor the trend.
We watch these pretty closely because we always want to know the fresh information so our data can be as accurate as possible.
As they dig deeper, they're asking big questions while learning about prevention.
We wanted to let people know that you can get a vaccination for free at some booths.
What these students are learning in the classroom about how to stop the virus, they're taking out into the community, because sometimes the most powerful messages come from the youngest advocates.
We should be educated about this, like us as 5th graders. It will benefit us in our daily lives, and we get to know more about the world and how the world is suffering with these different viruses and diseases.
In Westlake, Nicole Nielsen, CBS News, Texas.
Very impressive group of kids.
Wow, as a physician, I love to see the vaccines.
Yes,
support.
indeed.
Yep.
I tell you, we We were on set, if you will, during these interviews when a reporter was there, and she stopped the interview multiple times to just got a big grin on her face and shook her head, goes, this is the most impressive group of kids that I've ever seen. And she said it multiple times. In fact, she even afterwards asked if this was a gifted and talented school, also asked if this was a private school as well. And we really drove home that it's that IB education that you're seeing right now. So hats off to students Shuby, Adam, and Penelope, and then of course Mrs. Elliott, their teacher. Yep. Yes, and Mrs. Schneider, the coordinator for the projects. They just did a phenomenal job, and we could not have asked for better representatives of Westlake Academy.
What's that old show? Are you smarter than a fifth grader? Nope.
Nope. Absolutely not.
Not those three.
So those are your items of community interest.
John, thank you. That was great. Great update. Yeah, I do want to mention we had the talent show, the Westlake Academy talent show last Friday that Quinn and I attended, and it was just fabulous. If you guys get a chance to go, the level of talent in our school, and it's funny, some of these kids I knew, and I didn't know they had some of these talents, but it's a fabulous show. And then I'd ask the board, as many of these graduation events, probably specifically the senior banquet and graduation, if you guys can mark your calendars and try to be there, that would be wonderful. John, thank you again. Now we have a proclamation for National Day of Prayer on May 1st, 2025, and this I will read this. We also have some special guests here. We have Irma and Jim Thomas from National Day of Prayer. We have Darren Davis. And we have a very special guest, our good friend and neighbor, Mayor Jeanette Tiffany. I don't know if we've ever had another mayor here, but Jeanette, thanks for being here. Good to see. Thank you all for being here. So this is a little lengthy, so give me just a minute. So, Town of Westlake proclamation. Whereas from our nation's humble beginning, public prayer and national days of prayer had played a vital role in the life of history of America, dating back to the first call to prayer in 1775, when the Continental Congress asked the colonies to pray for wisdom in forming a nation, and the call to prayer has continued throughout our history, both in times of conflict and peace, including President Lincoln's proclamation of a day of humiliation, fasting, and prayer in 1863. And these times of national supplications were made official in 1952 when President Harry Truman signed a joint resolution of the U.S. Congress which enacted legislation setting aside an annual day of prayer for the nation. And in 1988, this public law was amended by Congress and President Reagan, permanently proclaiming the first Thursday of May annually as a National Day of Prayer. The National Day of Prayer is thus acknowledged as a vital part of our nation's heritage, as it enables us to recall and teach the way in which our forefathers sought the wisdom of God when faced with critical decisions, thereby reaffirming the spiritual principles upon which this nation was founded. And the National Day of Prayer belongs to all Americans and is a day that transcends differences, bringing together citizens from all backgrounds to seek God for the area and country where we live, learn, work, worship, and to serve to honor God and give Him thanks for the many liberties and blessings we have received, among them the freedom to gather, worship, and pray. And Thursday, May 1st, 2025, is the 74th observance of the National Day of Prayer in our nation, and simultaneously the 33rd consecutive observance from the citizens of this 76262 community, having its theme for this year, Pour Out to God of Hope and Be Filled, based on Romans 15:13. Now may the God of hope fill you with all the joy and peace in believing, so you will abound in hope for the power of the Holy Spirit. On this National Day of Prayer, we come together as leaders and citizens to unite our hearts and voices together in prayer as one nation under God, acknowledging our dependency upon Him and seek His divine guidance, protection, and strength to meet challenges that we face, both present and future, and to pray for peace throughout our nation and the world. I, Kim Graves, Mayor of the Town of Westlake, Texas, with the Town Council, do hereby proclaim May 1st, 2025, a day of prayer in Westlake, Texas.
Mayor, I think this is wonderful that we have a National Day of Prayer. I think that's great. I want to assure everyone that the town of Westlake is a very inclusive town, one that accepts everyone, accepts every religion, and embraces our differences. I think at a time in the U.S. where we seem to be so divisive and at each other, including everyone in this National Day of Prayer is an important element of it. We all need that prayer, and we all need to pray together.
Well said. Thank you, Michael. Agenda item E2, Westlake Academy International Baccalaureate, how to get an IB diploma. Michelle?
Hey, everybody. We are getting to that time of year where if you walk on campus, you will see testing going on in really every nook and cranny. One of the things that we are doing as well as STAR exams is we'll start IB exams here in the next couple of weeks. And so the culmination of that continuum education is going to come down to the IAs, internal assessments, and external assessments, the exams. And so a lot of confusion around how do you get an IB diploma. So that is hopefully going to, Brandon Llewellyn is hopefully going to walk you through that on this video. It's different. I think people get confused with a high school diploma and an IB diploma. And so when we're talking about an IB diploma, we're talking about that global recognition from what it takes to be a diploma program candidate, but also hopefully a diploma recipient. So they're different. If you don't get the IB diploma, it's okay. You'll still get your Westlake Academy diploma, but just wanted to clarify that. All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Llewellyn. I'm the Diploma Program Coordinator here at Westlake Academy, and I'm here today to talk to you about the requirements that our students have to meet in order to earn the IB diploma.
Hi, my name is Garnett Eisler. I am now a freshman at Tufts University.
I am Sylvia. I'm a freshman at UCLA.
My name is Kate, and I'm a freshman at the University of Chicago. My name is Macy. I am a freshman at Cal Poly.
When our students enter the diploma program, our students will sign up for one course in each of 6 subject groups. When they register for those courses, based on the work that they do over the 2 years, there are 7 IB points available for the students to earn in each course. That means that students have a total opportunity to earn 42 points combined from their coursework. The minimum number of points that students need in order to earn their diploma is 24 points.
It's going to challenge you. You're going to have some struggles. You might think about not completing it, as I know many of my friends have, but in the end, it's so gratifying to get those scores back, get some credit for school, and then actually go to school and see that you've pretty much already been through the ringer and now you've got it down. Whereas everyone is just starting that process and trying to kind of catch up. I'd say it's definitely worth the grind that you have to go through.
Only how academically rigorous the IB program is, and how, transitioning to college, it kind of just felt quite easy of a process for me, just because I've been prepared so well by the IB program.
At the end of each course, our students will take an external assessment for each of these courses. That's going to be those IB exams that they take during the month of May in their senior year. Those IB exams are the biggest determining factor of their IB score for each course. Students also, during the course, with their teachers, complete an internal assessment. The internal assessment is typically about 20% of their final grade in the course. The students, for the internal assessment, will do a variety of activities depending on what subject group it is. Some of them are orals, where students are speaking into a recorder. Some of them are research papers. Some of them are laboratory investigations, and so on. The teachers are the ones that assess those grades, which is why they're called internal assessments. Those assessments are then sent off, a sample of them is sent off to IB, which will then undergo moderation to ensure that the teacher is assessing the students fairly.
I think the IB program prepared me wonderfully for college, just because of the work ethic that I created. with the DP program and writing all the IAs and taking a lot of the tests and just there's always a deadline to hit. It taught me how to manage my time, and now in college I have no problem managing deadlines and getting everything in on time. You kind of get the IB brain where you can answer pretty much anything that's thrown at you. Like, I don't know, with the IAs you have to do so many different types of writing, like math versus English, they're very different, but you can kind of, you get the skill set to answer any kind of question and without, a lot of struggle.
In addition to the 6 subject group courses that our students take, all of our students also take Theory of Knowledge. This Theory of Knowledge course is a 2-semester long course, and the components that the students complete during that course also can contribute to their IB diploma total. And our students also complete an extended essay. Depending on how our students do in Theory of Knowledge and on the extended essay, our students can earn an additional 3 points toward their IB diploma total, bringing the total possible number of points that they can earn to 45.
Westlake Academy has really prepared me to really adapt well to that very strict and rigorous academic environment, and really just how to really think critically. A lot of the workload that you have to do in college is the idea that you're not just regurgitating information about what the professor says, but you really have to add that unique critical perspective and your own voice to whatever you do. And
I would say it's 100% worth all of your time and your effort, because a lot of like the intro and prerequisite classes for your majors at college are basically what you are learning now, and just having that foundation now rather than learning it for the first time once you step on campus, it really, really helps.
At Westlake Academy, we believe very strongly that our students are ready to contribute to a global society after they leave high school here. Our students are highly prepared for college. They typically do very well in college. And on top of that, our students are strong citizens. They really feel empowered that they really can go out and make a strong difference in the world.
Any questions on how you get the IB diploma?
So let's kind of brag about our school. So our graduation rate has been 100% for 10 plus years, getting a diploma, but our IB success rate is 87, 90%. Historically been 90%, and where that's a big deal is we don't source kids for the IB program. They come to Westlake Academy as an open public charter school to get that. So I think the job that our administration and teachers are doing is amazing to get those results.
And that we're all that our classes are full diploma candidates. I think that's a huge thing. I know that's really important to Dr. Ritchie and has been in the programs that she's led, but having a lot of schools that offer the IB will offer a course here, a course there, and we offer every student is the full diploma candidate. And one thing that is good to know is you don't get those scores back. You don't even know if you got the diploma until July. Your schools, you are getting into college saying, hey, I checked all of the boxes. I did all of the requirements. And that schools know, colleges know the rigor of what that means. If you are a diploma candidate, even if you might have gotten 23 points, you still were, you were very successful, and they know the kind of student that you are. And so that sets a lot of our students up for success.
If I may say, just as a parent, I really feel like our education stands out in that students learn how to learn. And that's really something that most learners don't attain in college or beyond. But they learn that here at Westlake Academy. And I think it comes out in how well they speak, how well they write, and how well they are creative and innovative. So it's all very good. Thank you.
Well, and Dr. Ritchie, you kind of started this when you got here. There's value to a Westlake Academy IB diploma. I think you've benefited from some of that. I mean, with the IB diploma, they're going into college with 24 plus college hours credited, which is, a year of college at the cost of college. It's really something. So that's fabulous. I just have to say, Mr. Llewellyn, Kate Wandrisco, one of the young ladies on here, I know her. I coached her in track for 3 years. She's a physics major at University of Chicago. She got a 4.0 her first semester. And Mr. Llewellyn got to go up there as her favorite teacher and participate in some things. It's just, and I know all those kids are fabulous, but you guys are doing a great job. Thank you. That's a great video. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, thanks. We now enter into a work session on Impact Fees 101 and growth rates. Cheryl? Thank you all for coming.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The purpose of today's workshop is to provide education to the Town Council and the members of the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee. You'll recognize some of the slides from previous presentations from staff and the consultant where we provided a general overview of impact fees. This evening, we will provide greater detail on the types of decisions you'll be making as required by Chapter 395 of the Local Government Code in order to determine if impact fees are appropriate for Westlake. As a reminder, this evening's presentation will be recorded and provided to the members of the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee for their training as well. You've seen the outline of the impact fee process in prior presentations. What you haven't seen are the details of each of these steps. Starting with land use assumptions, the Planning Department has weighed in on the estimated growth rates in Westlake over the next 5, 10, and 20 years. Capital improvement plans. These water, wastewater, and roadway projects will be coming to the committee and to the council for consideration and approval so that the consultant can begin calculating the maximum allowable impact fees for water, wastewater, and roadways. Finally, there are 2 required committee meetings and 2 public hearings for the adoption of an impact fee ordinance. And the consultant will go into more detail on each of these steps in their presentation. The reason for the impact fee study is this. If Westlake were to stay the way it is today and not encourage new development, including the expansion of Deloitte University and the Front 44, or invite vibrant commercial development along the state highway corridors, then we wouldn't even need to consider impact fees because there wouldn't be a need for a capital improvement plan list of projects. However, the Council's approval of the Town of Westlake strategic plan prioritizes new development and economic growth. And with that said, we anticipate that great things are going to be coming to Westlake. The Council's approval of the Water Master Plan was a proactive first step in ensuring the town stays ahead of development. Just last week, staff met with the consultant to review a preliminary list of Water Master Plan projects, many of which may be impact fee eligible, such as a second pump station or an elevated storage tank to serve future growth and expansion that's expected in Westlake in the next 5 to 10 years. Staff's highest priority for the Water Master Plan is redundancy in the system. The redundancy in the system will allow us to continue to serve the existing properties and future properties in Westlake. The second highest priority is ensuring that the town of Westlake can supply water needed to the developments that we know are coming, such as the Deloitte University expansion that's currently under construction and is anticipated to be completed by the end of the year. And the site plan for the Front 44 came through the P&Z Commission just last week for approval, and so we anticipate that that's going to be coming, and it's a very big development, and it's very exciting for Westlake, and these are the things that we need to be preparing for. A third priority for the Water Master Plan is to ensure the town system can be operated efficiently and is prepared for routine maintenance as well as emergencies. These are the scenarios that staff is contemplating with the consultant and the types of projects and prioritization of projects for Westlake. Capacity improvements to the water system may be impact fee eligible. So since we're talking about development, another way to look at impact fees is the per lot fee that is assessed and collected from developers for Westlake Academy. Those fees are collected to handle the impact of additional students on the Academy's ability to provide an exceptional education to the existing students as well as future students. Impact fees are no different than that. Each connection is an impact on the water, wastewater, and roadway systems for the town of Westlake. You'll recognize this slide. It's the impact fee schedule. We can't speed it up, but we can slow it down as needed to meet your needs and make sure everyone understands what we're doing and why. so that the council can make an informed decision on what is right for Westlake. At the end of the process, you'll have the option to consider adopting water, wastewater, and/or roadway impact fees. You can adopt one, two, or all three, or you can adopt any combination of three, or none of them if you so choose. There are many decisions to be made, and we're here to provide you with as much information as possible to make those decisions. Do you have any questions for staff before I turn it over to the consultant for Impact Fee 101?
Any questions?
I have Andrew Franco with Freese & Nichols here this evening.
Good.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good
How
to
are you?
see you all
You as
again.
well.
And I hope to not drop this time. There we go. So like Cheryl said, I'm here before y'all again to present probably some of the same information you've seen once, twice, maybe one more time in the future. But again, this is all under the guise of providing you all the information and education needed to make informed decisions in the near future. So what we'll talk about today is I'll cover the basics one more time. We'll talk about the SEAC group. That when I was here last month, the purpose of the presentation was to appoint the SEAC as a body to help provide input as this process moves forward. We'll talk about in a little bit more detail some of the different components of the process of the slide that Cheryl has showed. As part of the Water Master Plan, we've done some demographic projections. We've looked at your existing and current and future land uses to determine what's going to be coming in over the next 5 to 10 year period. That's really the study period that we're evaluating as part of this process. So we have our base year of 2025 and a 10-year look out into 2035. What's all the growth that's going to come into Westlake over that period, and how is that going to impact water, sewer, roadway infrastructure systems? We'll talk about the growth rates, provide a little bit more detail or background into what some of the calculations will look like, and some of the information that will be presented to y'all in the future for helping to make these decisions. So, impact fees, they are a process that's governed by Chapter 395 of the Texas Local Government Code. It prescribes the process and methodology and the rules as far as how these programs can be administered and operated. This is a new program that's being considered by the town. And really the big differences there is new programs require more public hearings, more meetings, more things like that to get that information out. If you move forward and you do updates subsequently, you're required to do that at least once every 5 years. And your public hearing process is reduced from 2 to 1. Your required SEAC meetings are reduced as well. So those are some of the differences in being a new program versus a future update. Cheryl really kind of hit the nail on the head is why are we doing this? If we're looking at bringing in growth to our town, we want to figure out what's the true impact that's going to be to these infrastructure systems, and is there a potential funding mechanism that we could utilize to help pay for some of the improvements that are going to be necessitated by this growth. So that's the tagline that we always like to say about impact fees. Impact fees help growth pay for their eligible percentage of the total cost of the infrastructure that they impact.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, sir.
When I look at our peer group, so Roanoke Trophy Club, South Lake Keller, who charges impact fees? You know?
All of them do.
They all do? So
Yes.
we're an outlier there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
Good answer.
So, the fee itself, it's a one-time charge that's assessed to a new customer to your system. So they're going to pay it once when they impact fees are assessed at time of final plat, and they are collected when your building permit is pulled. So this is not a reoccurring charge to anybody. It is a one-time charge. What this is, what the program, Chapter 395, says that we can levy these fees for water, wastewater, roadway, and drainage. For the purpose of the study, we are not considering drainage as part of this. I will say across DFW Metroplex, there's very few communities that actually implement a drainage impact fee. A lot of cities or towns, they recoup funding for drainage facilities through a stormwater utility type fee. So you don't see those very often. There's a few communities down in the Houston area that levy the drainage fees. But again, we're going to be primarily focused on the water, wastewater, and roadway systems. What can we pay for under this type of program? We It can pay for the construction, engineering, surveying, land acquisition, and debt service associated with water, sewer, and roadway systems. So on the water side, we'll be looking at potential future water supply. We talked about pump stations, tanks, water lines, sewer lines, lift stations. So what are all the components that need to be added to your city infrastructure, or your town infrastructure, in order to accommodate the growth? And then finally, on the roadway side, we're really going to be looking at a lot of the future roads that are associated on your thoroughfare plans, and looking at what's the ultimate capacity or condition my roadway system's going to get to, and how much is our 10-year growth going to be affected by it. Components we cannot pay for under the program are basically a lot of your system rehab or rehabilitation, doing O&M type improvements. So, for instance, if you're doing a project where you're not adding capacity to your system, i.e. expanding or upgrading a water line, a sewer line, a water sewer facility, if you're redoing a road but you're not adding extra lanes for added capacity, those are types of projects that are not going to be eligible under this program. You are going to be required to, if you're going to use and apply future dollars, those projects must be listed on your impact fee CIP. So projects that are not listed on that CIP will not be eligible for future funds collected. Same thing with the debt service. So you can use debt service on the projects that are identified, but if you don't have projects identified, you cannot apply any sort of cost or debt service associated with projects not included on your list.
Ask a question here. I have a couple others, but I'll wait the others till the end. This one is specific to this. It said no upgrading. If we had a pump station that was at capacity or required additional pumping capability or wastewater treatment, would those be covered by impact fees, or would they be separately negotiated?
So basically, short answer is they could be eligible, yes. So if you have your existing pump station that is at capacity, you want to expand it to add more capacity, basically that delta or that difference is what's going to be eligible. Correct. So this is the SEAC specific. So we've appointed the body. What their charge is as part of this process is to provide input and comment ultimately to the town council. They will be giving comment to us as well throughout the process. So that first component, we talked about the land use assumptions. So what is our current and 10-year snapshots? Are they going to feel that that amount of growth is going to be appropriate for town of Westlake? The impact fee eligible capital improvement plans, the actual calculations when we present them to that group, they will be providing input and comment there, and then finally they will provide written recommendation to this body of do they agree or disagree with the information presented. So before each of the two public hearings, the first public hearing will cover the land use assumptions and the impact fee eligible CIPs. They will provide written recommendation whether to move forward or not there. And then when it comes time to the second public hearing where we consider potential collection rates, they will present a SEAC recommended collection rate to the council. So our scheduled meetings with them is upcoming on June 3rd at, I believe that's the regularly scheduled P&Z meeting. On the land use assumption and eligible CIPs. We will be presenting that information to them then. We will then come back on September 2nd to do all the calculations, the peer city utility benchmarking, and the overall recommendations of the study. So those are the upcoming meetings they have with the CIAC. So not going to go through this slide in detail. Y'all have seen this 3 or 4 times now. And so I'll just kind of hit on some of the individual components along the way. So for the land use assumptions, again, we talk about looking at what our existing land use is, what's here in Westlake now, and then moving into what does the future land use look like. Now I know there's some kind of big swaths of land there, some big, some of those color changes as we go from maybe an agricultural or really a vacant usage to a certain type of commercial, industrial, or corporate campus type things. Again, Cheryl said we've had some meetings with staff where we've gotten a lot of input about things that are, maybe coming in the next few years that we know about, so we can be a little bit more granular than what this information is telling us. So again, that's going to help kind of give us what's the best information we have available at this time to help make some of these decisions. So we're looking at who's coming into Westlake from a residential standpoint, and then also from an overall non-residential standpoint. Looking at the population here in Westlake, historically, you can see the different levels of growth that we've seen in the town. Two different sources of information here. One of them is from the NCT COG, so that's going to be our local Council of Government data sources, as well as U.S. Census Bureau is going to be the two columns on the right. They do kind of slightly differ a little bit in some of their methodologies and some of the numbers they recognize. But you'll always notice that every 10 years when the U.S. Census is done, the COG will usually kind of course correct some of their information so they can ultimately match what the U.S. Census Bureau has done. And so you can see the different levels of growth rates we've had over the last 10, 5, and 3 years. So a little bit more steady on the Census Bureau side of things. On the different growth rates there, so over the last 10 years, we've averaged about 6% growth, 5 years, 5.3%, and then at a little slight uptick, close to 5.8% the last year in Westlake. So what does that mean moving forward? You can kind of see the historical numbers, and then we looked at a kind of a bunch of different growth rates in there to determine really what's going to be kind of the best number to help base our water master plan projections and these impact fee land use assumption information. So you can see that the 2025 number that we're using is, from a population standpoint, 2,073 residents in the 10-year time frame. So that's going to be our impact fee window is 2025 to 2035. So we're looking at an increase to, 3,469 residents here in the town of Westlake. So that really equates to about a 5.3% annual average, which if I go back, that's kind of really close to what that 5-year growth rate is looking like. So if you just kind of extrapolate out that information, we're kind of continuing with a little bit of a same trend on the residential side. I actually don't have a chart for doing some of the non-residential stuff, but we're taking a pretty good uptick in non-residential with some of the growth and development that we are anticipating to be coming up over the next few years here in Westlake.
Hey, Wade and John, do we have our website updated on these growth projections? Because at one time it was saying we were going up to 7,000. In 10 years.
I'll go back and look at that.
Yeah,
and make
let's
sure
just
that
check that
updated.
these are, okay.
So we'll be basically presenting information that shows our land use assumptions over the next 10-year time period. That's the kind of the first half or the first part of the technical exercise. Now we start getting into what are going to be the impact fee eligible capital improvement plans for water, sewer, and roadways. Cheryl mentioned we did have a meeting last week where we presented some of our kind of initial CIPs related to the water system. Here's a snapshot where we're looking at that. So we've got we have additional elevated storage. We have more pumping capacity. We have future water supply from Fort Worth. We have more water lines to move all this water throughout the town. There are projects on this list and screen that are not going to be impact fee eligible. They're not going to serve future growth, but they are going to help build up that system resilience that was priority number one for the master plan. Let's make our system more resilient and capable of not having a single point of failure, for whatever emergency scenarios might happen. So again, these are some of the master plan type recommendations. Not all of them are going to fall into the impact fee eligible CIP. I will say, going back to the schedule slide, you'll see it here in just a little bit. We're going to come and do a water master plan presentation for the town council to walk through the results and all the recommendations that came out of that study. So you'll get to see me even more in the upcoming future.
Excellent.
So wastewater side, we are in the very infant stages of developing the eligible projects there. But you think about, you look at where the town is growing on the water side. We're probably going to have some sewer projects. If we're showing growth for water, we're going to want to serve them sewer. We're not going to kind of leave them out to do whatever. It is important to make sure that we come up with an overall plan that's going to serve you water and sewer. So there will be expansion of wastewater lines and lift stations where necessary. We try to avoid them as much as possible, but that is going to be a recommendation that will come in as well. Other component that's not on here that we're going to have some discussions with staff about in the near future is to look at, all of your wastewater is sent to TRA for treatment. And so, y'all pay to have TRA treat all your wastewater, and they're going to be doing some system improvements on their end as well. So do we want to look at bringing in TRA costs that y'all have to pay to help them expand their systems? You are eligible to do that under state law. So that'll be a component in consideration that we'll be talking about coming up. So, and they're not small dollars. So as you go through the study itself, sometimes it's better to throw in more than what you think you need. So you can look at what's the maximum that we could charge. That doesn't mean we're going to charge it, correct, but you want to have all the different pieces to that puzzle to where you're getting a total view of what's the true impact going to be to your overall infrastructure. So more to come on this side of things as well. From a roadway side of things, again, mentioned y'all have a thoroughfare plan in place already, so we're not looking to reinvent the wheel there. We're looking to determine what projects are we seeing that are going to need to help accommodate all of this 10-year growth here in Westlake. And so looking at identifying which projects are going to be applicable to be included in our impact fee eligible CIP. So looking, making sure that when we do go ahead and need to make a roadway improvement, that it's meeting your thoroughfare plan standard, and the amount of forecasted traffic demand is going to be applied to a single roadway segment, and that's how we're going to start coming up with what's the utilization of a project, and that's going to come into play here on, I think, one of my next slides. So you come up with the projects, how much they cost, and we do what we call impact fee utilizations. So we look at how much of a project is being utilized by existing customers, and then how much is that project going to be utilized in the 10-year window. So really that delta there is going to tell us what percentage of that total project cost is going to be serving 10-year growth, thus impact fee eligible. So we look at if we have a project or a water line that's been recently built and it has excess capacity to serve future growth, we can actually include that project. It doesn't all have to be just brand new projects, but if we have recently constructed infrastructure that can accommodate our growth, then we want to make sure that we're going to be including that as well. So the calculations themselves is a relatively straightforward equation here. So we look at what is the eligible cost. So we've identified the projects and what percentage of those is going to be impact fee eligible from a cost standpoint. That's going to be our blue box. Under state law, you're required to either provide a 50% credit of that cost, or you can do a detailed financial analysis to determine can we go above 50% to a certain, anywhere between 50 or 100% of that true cost. I will say that when we've scoped out this project and everything, we kind of made the decision, this is the town's first run at developing a program, we're going to do the 50% credit option. So you take the total cost minus the credit, and then you really divide it by what's the added number of connections or customers into your system. So that's going to be that single family living unit equivalent, SFLUE number. So it's a cost divided by a unit, and then that's going to tell you what's the maximum allowable that I can charge under state law. So that's really the ultimate end game of doing the technical part of the impact fee analysis. So then you get into how do you actually calculate these things for you have a customer that wants to come in and connect to your system, i.e. a single family residence, or you've got a new gas station or a new bowling alley, for instance, or any other sort of business. There's going to be a process in order to determine what that potential fee may look like. So on the roadway side, I'll do the roadway first. It's a two-step process where you look at how many service units or development units is my applicant going to be looking at. A lot more information to come on this, I promise. But when you look at development units, a lot of times for like a commercial or an office or a retail type thing, you're looking at it in a unit of per 1,000 square feet. So if you have a 10,000 square foot business that wants to come in, that's going to be divided down to their number of development units, and then there's a 5 or 6 page service equivalency for all these different types of land uses. So like an office building may generate more traffic than an industrial building, or a restaurant can generate more traffic than bad at this game. But, maybe I wouldn't say a gas station because everybody there is driving. But my point is different types of land uses generates different types of traffic, and so from there, depending on the size and the type, you can determine how many vehicle miles on the roadway side would that generate. And so you take those vehicle miles and then you multiply them by essentially what the maximum, or what your base unit is that maximum allowable fee number. So that's going to tell you what the impact fee would be. On water, wastewater, it's a little bit more straightforward. It's all based on the size of meter that your customer has asked for. So I believe 1-inch meters are the base size here in Westlake. So you would take the service unit equivalency of a 1-inch meter is 1, and you're going to multiply that by basically that maximum allowable impact fee number to say what the impact fee is. So that's really the high level overview of how the items are calculated. So I've made up some numbers here. So if you had a maximum allowable fee on the water for $2,000, wastewater for $1,000, and then for roadways $1,500. This would be a single-family home sample calculation. You could see on the roadway side, one single-family home generates 1.3 vehicle miles per dwelling unit. So the traffic demand is 1.3 vehicle miles times that theoretical $1,500. So your roadway fee would be $1,950. The water, wastewater, the assumption is your water meter is always going to be the same as your wastewater meter, because if you can pull off this much water from your system, you can produce it back into the sewer system. That's kind of the logic on how those meters are calculated. So you take the number of service units times the maximum allowable fee. So at those maximum allowable fee numbers, you can see for a single-family home, you'd have a total fee of $3,950. Again, sample numbers here. I just want to show you all a little bit of information of what that looks like. So if we move into the non-residential side, so a 10,000 square foot office building, same numbers, 2,000, 1,000, and 1,500. So you take that 10,000 square feet, break it down to development units based on the 1,000 square foot calculation. The traffic demand is 1.99 vehicles per 1,000 square feet. So that's a total generation of 19.9 vehicle miles times 1,500, 29,850. And then if they had a 2-inch meter, you can see the requisite calculations. 2-inch meter has 2.5 times the capacity of a 1-inch meter. So 2.5 service units, so that leads a total impact fee of $37,350. Sample calculation numbers here. Yes, sir.
Recognizing these are just sample numbers, but at the same time, there'll be things people remember. From our water schedule now, tap fee comes with a Fort Worth impact fee. We already have that. It's $5,000 for 1 inch, $15,000 for 2 inch. So we've got really modest sample numbers here compared to Fort Worth, really modest. So we're already paying the Fort Worth impact fees if you're developing in Westlake. So can you just talk about the interplay between what we're getting for those impact fees, what they're doing, what we'd be doing, and are we replacing them? Is this Fort Worth geographically specific within the town, or is it for the whole? Just help us with the fact we already have impact fees up to $15,000 per water tap, not roadway, but
sure, absolutely.
Water side.
So y'all are a wholesale customer of City of Fort Worth. City of Fort Worth, I believe, has just over 30 wholesale customers that they provide water service to. Every one of those wholesale customers is levied in a Fort Worth impact fee. And it's the same fee across, it's even across the board. So no wholesale customer is paying to Fort Worth a higher or lower number than another one. Now there are other cities. So we talked about Southlake and Keller. Those are customers who pay the impact fee to Fort Worth, and then they have their own impact fee on top of that. So what the Fort Worth impact fee dollars really go for is City of Fort Worth. They include in their fees. They include the cost of expanding their facilities, i.e. their water treatment plants, regional tanks and pump stations. They include cost for their water supply from TRWD. They include their cost of wastewater to TRA. So that's what I mentioned. Could we include TRA costs into the Westlake ones? We definitely can. And so all the really the cost it costs Fort Worth to bring more water to their communities, those are essentially how the Fort Worth fees are basically calculated. And they are updating theirs currently. I believe their public hearing is scheduled for next month. So they will be changing theirs later. I believe October 1st will be they'll have updated rates.
Mr. Sullivan, that's a great question. And to simply break that down right for anybody who might be watching, a Fort Worth impact fee pays for water to hit our doorstep, and then our own impact fee would pay for that water distribution within our town.
Getting it here then.
Correct.
Yeah, so even though Westlake residents pay that, they're not actually paying the town of Westlake for an impact.
It is a pass-through.
Yeah, it's a pass-through.
Oh. Correct.
I have two questions, if you don't mind. One is, why have we never charged an impact fee? Because we have such a difficult time finding funds for road maintenance, road expansions. We have a water system that has been delayed in maintenance for decades. So I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts on why? Or
that would be hard for him to answer because it's hard for me to answer, quite honestly, Dr. White. Yeah. I don't know why we've never done that. As you'll see from this very next slide, everyone around us charges an impact fee for that very purpose because there is going to be a cost to the expansion of your system, and it makes sense for future people in the town to assist us in paying for the expansion that's necessary to have service for them.
Right, I totally agree.
The one thing I'll add to that is if the town hasn't had an appetite for growing, maybe there just hasn't been the want to do it. But also at the other component, I take like Charles Schwab or Deloitte or some of those larger customers. They have probably put in some infrastructure over the years that have helped to accommodate that. Yeah, but it certainly isn't a solution for the entire town.
Right.
It's how did we get our roadway and our water sewer for our development that ends up being used.
No matter how big of a supporter I am for our town to begin implementing impact fees, I'm curious, what is the typical impact fee in our neighboring cities like Roanoke, Southlake? Oh, okay, got it. That's good.
Well, and these might not be updated to April 15th, 2025, but this is a sample to show you of we're going to be bringing all this information in front of y'all.
Good.
You're going to have the ability to look at what are our peers or our other neighboring towns doing as far as how much they're charging, And we will be breaking it out by customers that pay impact fees within their system, but we also provide that Fort Worth number on top of that as well to provide you the true cost of what some of these things could look like.
Is this assuming a 1-inch meter on this chart?
Yeah, that's a single family home chart there. So looking at you got roadways in red, water in blue, and sewer in green.
That's good. When you bring these forward, would you be able to give us some sense of the way it impacts developers? I mean, beyond the fact that developers don't like impact fees, but any other nuances that you can bring us would be great.
Yeah, we can.
I mean, you just look at it, it's the materiality we saw, especially in Westlake. But I want to say this, and again, to this council, Wade, under your leadership, and Cheryl and Kyle, we were going down a really dangerous path on our infrastructure, and you have brought that awareness to this council. We are starting to spend money. We're starting to have the adult conversations for our town and do the right thing. So thank you very much for that. Cheryl.
Certainly, it hurts. It definitely hurts while you're in this process, right? It's a lot of dollars to pay, but that's why we're looking for some alternate methods for funding.
You know what hurts worse? A boil water notice. That's one thing I've learned.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
What do you not want to do? That. So, yeah, not any of them. So,
you're going to get all this information,
okay.
And when it comes down to that second public hearing, where we look at potentially entertaining the idea of adopting a collection schedule, council, y'all will have the ability to set the rate from the maximum allowable to $0, or anywhere in between. I was doing, there's a city, Southeast Tarrant County, they decided the total dollars were like $6,832 for water and sewer, and they're like, we just want it to be an even $6,500. You'll have the ability to really set that at whatever range y'all feel. So it is our job to provide you all the information, give you all the tools at your disposal, but the decision will ultimately rest with council on how this ends up moving forward. Last point there, we're going to develop calculator tools that kind of give y'all the ability to, everyone likes to kind of play around and say, well, I'm going to add a 20-home development over here, or a 1 million square foot top secret customer here. We're going to give y'all all this information that's going to help you help to make these decisions.
One question I have is, for a single family home, would it be a set fee then, or does the size of the home or the number of meters they have affect?
It is, the size of the home doesn't matter. It is about the meter on the water,
so
sewer.
If they have, like a lot of homes have a irrigation meter and a water, interior house meter. There would be
if you have two meters,
so there would be
but if you designate one as an irrigation only, you wouldn't have the sewer impact fee. You would just have the water, no sewer, no roadway. Excuse me. So
perfect.
That's essentially how it gets administered.
Okay, thank you.
Two questions. One is addressed to Wade and Jason. I'm assuming that the areas that we're going to be developing in the future have varying levels of existing infrastructure, not just starting with bare land here with no infrastructure. So the impact fees will allow us to adjust based on what exists versus what needs to be improved upon.
That's correct. There are some lines and some infrastructure that's there. The impact fee can help us upsize some of those lines, but there's a great deal of Westlake, especially as we add, I hate to use the word density, but as you bring in commercial development on the Circle T Ranch, there's areas of that ranch that don't have any water lines whatsoever. It's still pasture out
there. I know we don't do anything for our town with respect to electricity, but do we know whether the electric providers like Tri-County also have impact fees, or do they just blend it with all other expenses for the co-op?
Ultimately, it kind of just blends into their rates. I have heard of companies doing some sort of program. It's not called that because state law doesn't say it, but there are other ways in which they can help facilitate
In
some
Nevada,
of their
we were forced to do that by our Public Utilities Commission. Because of the growth in Las Vegas, that's just tremendous growth, that there was a hue and cry. We couldn't have the people who were living there pay for the growth. So there had to be, we didn't call them impact fees, but it was something similar to that. But, so we don't have anything.
Absolutely. Again, just wrapping up with the schedule. So the plan is we'll be back here for public hearing number 1 in mid-July. Public hearing number 2 at this time is scheduled for October. The other thing I mentioned is I'll be back here in June to kind of go through all the water master plan kind of results and recommendations.
I want to make sure when we have these public hearings, we really have, like everything we do, the average house, average meter, whatever, this is a cost. These things are really pretty immaterial in the whole scope of things from the residential side.
Yes. And our averages are a little different than most.
Do what?
Our averages are a little different.
Yes, I know that. I do know that.
If any other questions?
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're pretty quick. Okay, consent agenda. Do I have the only thing we have is G1, approve the minutes for March 24th. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next are regular agenda items. WA Resolution 25-07. Discuss, consider, and act regarding WA Resolution 2507, approving and adopting a policy requiring submittal of returning student registration forms within the designated time frame set by the school to guaranteed continued enrollment at Westlake Academy. Hey, Darcy.
Hi, Mayor and board members. We're bringing this resolution to you to ask you to approve to set a deadline for our returning students to submit their registration each year. Every year we send out the registration forms and ask our returning students to fill them out and return them, and we struggle with getting them back in a timely manner. Last year we asked them to return them before the end of the school year was over. We gave them 30 days. We sent multiple reminders out to the parents, and all the way into August we're still collecting those returning student registration forms. Makes it very hard for the administration to plan budgeting, scheduling, master schedule, and also how many spaces we're going to offer to new students each year. So we would like to set a deadline requiring that our returning students fill the applications out and return them to us by the deadline. If they don't, we consider them withdrawn from the academy.
What is the deadline?
We will get 30 days.
From when?
We're starting enrollment tomorrow after this meeting with your input, and we would get 30 days. So it would be mid-May before the end of the school year.
I just think we need a definitive date.
I'm sorry?
A definitive date and time would help.
Okay, so we don't put it in here because once it's a policy, next year the dates might be different.
Darcy, could we simply say that we're going to establish a date in a given year? I mean, if we just had a sentence in this that said every year there will be a date established.
Okay, sure.
I think that would solve it.
Okay.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I think that you need to give some certainty to parents about how long they're going to have. Instead of saying we're going to set a date, I could set the date tomorrow.
Why don't we pick a date?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pick a date, live by it, force the administration of the school to live by it. Everybody in the town is going to know it. It's going to happen on the end of this month, on this date.
What's the latest date you can go?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. What is the late? Could you go to May 31st?
Sure.
Why don't you pick May 31st?
Okay. And we can also put in there 30 days, not less than 30 days time frame. If you
Darcy,
prefer.
here's my concern is we've already eliminated the intent to return.
Right.
So now we're putting all of this onus on. I mean, I get it. I don't understand you on a date, but my feeling is I feel like we're completely changing the system. So I don't know. It just seems like we're really changing the system, and that's a lot for parents to catch up on. I know Westlake Academy, notoriously, it's really hard to communicate with parents. It's hard to get people's feedback. People are always the day after, right, the deadline. So my only fear is that by removing both the intent to return and now creating a hard stop to this, it's going to create a lot of potential problems for the residents who are re-enrolling. And the other thing that concerns me is, my question is, if a resident fails to re-enroll by this deadline, by virtue of being a resident, technically we should have a spot for them, right? I mean, how are we going to handle that? That's my only concern. I understand the idea of making a date, but I just worry about carrying it out, I guess.
Let me give my 2 cents here. It's kind of like the previous conversation. We have to grow up as a town, as in a school. And you're trying to plan for enrollment. If people don't fill these, they show up. We put our lottery at a disadvantage because we ask them to come in late. I don't understand why it should be difficult to say you're coming back or not and to communicate with us. What am I missing? And if they don't, they're withdrawn from school.
That's what we're trying to manage so that the end of July, last year at the end of July, we were still working on 46 students that we didn't know if they were returning or not. And therefore we had 46 lottery students that we weren't able to enroll until August, and trying to enroll that amount of students in August and getting them onboarded and into our school, orientated. They've missed all the orientations by that time, and it's difficult.
So I'm just curious, out of that, the folks that didn't do their registration, had they done the intent to return? Because I know that was one of the reasons that we were eliminating the intent to return, because it does confuse some people thinking they already registered because they did the intent.
I didn't compare, but we get like 99% of people doing the intent to return, but we don't get 99% people who return. In February, when we did the intent to return, everybody says they're coming back.
Can we put a kind of a letter cycle together that we're going to have this date, but we are going to send a letter saying if you do not respond, you will be unenrolled? I mean, can we give them due notice? Because
sure,
yeah,
I'd love to hear y'all's feedback. We have to have some rules for administration to try to manage capacity and enrollment, right? And to be fair of the next series of children coming to our school.
And we do. Last year we sent our final returning student, we had sent 7 emails to them to try and get them to do their enrollment. This year, if we have this policy, we would, do due diligent. We will do emails, we will do text, and we will even do phone calls this year to make sure. And it will be before school's out, so that we don't have the issue of people being out of the country, out of the state.
I think it's going to be I'm sorry, Todd, go ahead. I think it's going to be important that if we do that, as you get close, and there are that group that never does respond, because it always happens in everything, to avoid the legal hurdles, because there's a lot of litigiousness that goes on around sometimes. Somebody should actually send a registered letter to the 2% or 1% that does not. Send a certified letter to them saying you're going to be disenrolled and your student will not be allowed to attend Westlake Academy if it's not received by this date. And that way they've got the certified letter. It's legally supportive of our position, and it's going to help protect the school as well as our town.
I agree with that 100%.
Darcy, I'm sorry, I had to step out briefly. Just 2 questions. For this kind of, difficult to corral 2%, do you know what the reasons are? The most common reasons are? Is it an indecision? Are they waiting on a move? Are they waiting on a private school admission? Or has it ever become apparent?
Some of them may still be making a decision, but a lot of them, last year, some of it was we were confused about the intent to return. We thought we had registered, but some of them maybe just didn't do it.
Okay.
I mean, we haven't asked specifically.
Out of curiosity, are these mostly PYP or older kids?
It's spread throughout.
And then my last question is, if we, let's say after all measures, certified letter and all fail, they get disenrolled. If they're Westlake residents, they come back in August and want to enroll, we can't block them.
Well, if we approve this policy, then no, they wouldn't be able to enroll.
For
But
1
then
year
the
or for
following year.
Okay,
they
for
could.
1 year.
It seems to me,
That makes
I
sense
think
then.
what the mayor said makes a lot of sense. We've got to treat this like a business. I hate to use that term, but I think it's irresponsible for, not for the school, but for us as a community, not to allow the school to plan properly for the next school year. And if you don't know how many students you're going to be having as you're preparing, or who those students are going to be, I think it ties your hands. So we need to have a date, whether it's a date certain, 30 days from the time the enrollment application goes out, whatever it is. Having all those follow-ups, I agree with what Todd said, but I think we need to be strident about it, because otherwise there's no consequence of not.
Right. There hasn't been consequences, and that's what we find.
Well, look, we found out we have picking your child up from school. We have those issues. I think we got a policy around it. It's the same thing we're finding, right? I'm not being critical on any of this, but it's time that we enhance across the board and make sure our policies and procedures are what we want them to be.
But I also think it's really important that we message this the right way.
Yes.
Because we really need to make sure, we are notorious for allowing people to do things after the deadlines. And if we are going to change the rules and be strict about it, we need to make sure people understand.
Right.
That's my biggest concern, is I don't want people to be disappointed because they aren't aware of what's happening and then they feel like they've been.
Sure, and we have a plan we communicate with them weekly. It's in the communique every week. We will do phone calls, we'll do the robocalls, we can do robo-text messages.
One thing I would ask, I would like right before the final minute, I'd like the board to see a list of those children.
Sure.
Okay.
Are y'all going to call?
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
I would suggest.
We all know changes. To Darcy's credit, you do calls too. Like there's
phone
calls.
I think you're doing the work already. Listen, and this is an adult conversation. People need to register their kids for school. That's immutable. But maybe since you're already doing it, why don't you propose a resolution that binds you to 2 emails to the email of record, a phone, whatever you're doing already, just bind yourself to that. So at least we called you, we emailed you, we sent a carrier pigeon, no response, your kid's out. If there's room, there's room. But I would also consider even removing what I think is probably useless, the intent to return, which has no teeth to it. It's confusing. It's a waste.
We stop that.
It's a waste. We don't do that. Just set the registration, but also bind yourself in the resolution that the school will contact the parent via these methods this many times by this date, then
normal procedure.
And I'm sure the communication of this time, because it's going to be different, will be very specific.
I think after you get past the first year and you say 31st of May, every 31st of May, it's the way it is. Once they get used to it, it just becomes part of everybody's process.
So we need to rewrite this current policy, include from this discussion, and bring it back. Clearly, it sounds like the board is fully supportive.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing this forward, and thank you for evolving.
What does that do for your time frame? Because we don't meet again until the 20th.
Can we approve this subject to the changes we noted?
Mayor, you can, but you would have to be very specific on the changes that you want made.
Mayor Groves, I believe you're going to discuss meeting on May the 7th for a special meeting a little bit later, and that may be a good time to bring this back.
Okay. May the 7th. Okay, Darcy.
Thank you, Diana.
We can start registration. Yeah, we can start registration and then
First year,
implement the
a little
policy
clunky,
and send the information out.
Bring it back with, you got the notes of what we talked about. Let us look at the policy, and then we'll approve it May 7th.
Okay. Then we'll give them a little bit longer this year because we'll start it a little bit sooner this year. Then.
Yeah, just throwing into it.
All right.
Thanks, Darcy.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item H2, discuss, consider, and act to approve WA Resolution 2509 ratifying the certification of provisional and instructional materials allotment survey 2025-26. Dr. Rich.
All right, so this is an easy one. This is another one of those compliance pieces from TEA. This year, just to put this in perspective, the instructional materials allotment garnered us over $100,000 to use towards instructional materials for our students. The reason that the state of Texas does these allotments is to make sure that we are purchasing products that are in alignment with our Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, so that what we're teaching students in the classroom is actually aligned to state standards. The survey that was included in your packet outlines what our curriculum experts, our IB coordinators, have delineated that we might use next year. We are not bound to have to purchase these exact items from these vendors, but it gives the state an idea of where we intend to use this money. The state does provide its own curriculum that you can pretty much get free of charge, but if you're doing something in lieu of that, they kind of want to know who you're cooperating with to get your materials. So that is the purpose of the survey. It's to let you guys know we've given consideration around our needs for next year. This is what we intend to put in front of our students. As an IB school, we have very different needs than just a traditional school in Texas, which is why we don't really ascribe to a lot of their prepackaged materials. And then what happens now is, if we're all in agreement that we would like this $100,000 plus allotment for our instructional materials, you guys just say yes to that, and then we get signatures on this, and then this gets uploaded to TEA that we're all in agreement
And
about.
these are funds provided by the state?
These are funds
Yeah,
provided
these are
by the
passed through
state. This is a very specific allotment specifically for instructional materials, K through 12.
Any questions? Can I get a motion to approve Westlake Academy Resolution 2509?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Ritchie.
Thank you all so much.
H3, discuss, consider, and act regarding Town Council Board of Trustees meeting schedule for installation of new members, orientation, and mandatory training. Mr.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've got a couple of dates that we need to ensure that we have everybody on council being able to attend. First off is what Diana had spoken about earlier, is May the 7th. We're going to do our swearing in of our new council members. We'll also have an opportunity to say goodbye to those who have faithfully served, whether they've served for a very long time, as Dr. White has done, or whether they've served for a short time, and both have made great impact to this town, so we appreciate that. So we'll have a small ceremony for that as well, and then we'll have a reception for the families afterwards. So we'll be doing that on May the 7th at the normal starting time of 4 o'clock. What I need some input from council on is we've got new council member orientation that we need to get scheduled, and part of that includes your first about 2 to 4 hours of training that is required as being part of the school board. Dr. Ritchie's going to go over some of that later at a later date, but we've got about 30 hours of training that has to be obtained within the first year.
Surprise!
Yeah.
It's actually a lot, so
Yeah.
we'll get you that information.
So those training dates will have to come out throughout the year. There's some opportunities where you can go to training, and there's some opportunities where we could bring the training here to Westlake as well. But for that new council orientation, we would like an opportunity, both Dr. Ritchie and I, to kind of go over how communication works, and then kind of our processes with council. Many of you that have been on council understand this for a while, but our newcomers will need to hear that. And then I've got an opportunity there to get some people in front of council as well. Want to bring a lot of the department directors and some of the folks at the school in front of council to get some face time as well. So we would like to choose a date for that. So with that being said, we're just kind of looking for council to throw out some possible dates where you are all in town.
Are we looking for a specific month or week?
You talking about for training?
Well, just for the first couple hours of training and then the orientation itself. So, if we could.
I mean, I guess what would the soonest?
Let's
that
try
you're
next
looking
month.
at?
Yes.
So June.
Yes. Oh, next month
May.
is May,
Yeah,
yes,
sorry.
sorry.
I'm in the
Wishing
In
your
May.
life away. Amazing.
I don't know if any of y'all are traveling. I know a lot of you travel for work, a lot of you
Listen,
travel
we got
for
a lot
vacations.
of
There's a lot of school activities
graduation.
going on.
Yeah, we got May.
And the next question is, it's going to need to be about 3 to 4 hours long, probably. So do we want to do that on an evening, or do we want to do that on a weekend day like
Didn't
we
we
did
do
on
it
our
on a
last
Saturday
orientation?
morning?
We certainly
this last
can.
time?
That,
Oh, I guess
Todd
Todd
says,
went there.
Todd says no, we're not doing that.
I'm open, whatever y'all, you need it right now. Want to pick a day?
Yeah, let me pick a date. Hang on.
So I am out of town the weekend of the 16th.
Is that in May?
9th is
Yeah, the 9th is a gala. You're out of town on the 16th,
the
Ms. Reeves.
23rd is a Friday, but that's graduation.
And it doesn't have to be a Friday. If you want to do it on a weekday, that's a little easier. If you are in town on a Monday or a Tuesday, we could do that as well. I'd steer it towards a Tuesday so that we could get everything together. Tuesday the 20th will be our council meeting. I'm sorry, not in May. What about the first
this is
weekend of
probably not a
June?
great venue for council members to describe when they're going to be out of town.
That's probably true. That's probably true. Why don't we take it a different route? Why don't we say
Yes.
yes? You want to have Diana send this out and get us some dates?
Yeah,
Okay.
like normal.
Outstanding. Yeah,
I'm sorry, it's like herding cats, so.
that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we'll have Diana
Pick a
send
date
that
still
out
works,
to the
but we
group,
do
and
need to
we'll get it done.
approve the May 7th meeting.
You don't have to approve that, but if council doesn't have any problems with that, then we're going to have that scheduled for May the 7th.
Okay, so I don't need to get approved.
No, sir. No, sir. That was it. So we will go
Right.
forward and get
Thanks.
the dates.
Everybody's on
lined
board
up.
what we're trying to do. We just got to nail down the date.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
They don't have to be, they don't have to.
Well, you
We're,
wanna speak to that?
we're working on those options. We haven't seen, yes, yes. So we are definitely working to see what the least painful way is to get the trainings.
Michael, the good news, it doesn't feel like any more than 50 or 60 hours. So. No, actually, the actual training is, that we went through last year, and that with the issues that we're having in public education in this state, it's good training. Important.
I don't want to throw a wrench into anything, but May 7th is, oh no, sorry, never mind. Apologize. We moved it, and I'm just remembering we moved it,
pull
so
back.
it's all good.
Okay, good. Agenda item H4, can I have a motion to excuse any council members? I think Dr. White was traveling last spring break. How was your spring break? Can I get a motion to approve her absence?
So moved.
I always wonder what we do if we don't.
Well, it's her second to the last meeting. It really doesn't
That's
matter.
true, it doesn't matter.
You had two more to give. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Dr. White. You're clear. We are now going to go. It is 5:29. We're pursuant to the provision of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. The Town Council and Board of Trustees will now adjourn into executive session in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551.071, consultation with legal advice from Academy Attorney regarding Westlake Academy Affiliate Group, Westlake Academy Athletic Club. Section 551-071, consultation with and legal advice from the town attorney regarding pending litigation, Vertical Bridge versus Town of Westlake, and Section 551.0741, deliberation regarding personal matters to deliberate the appointment, employment evaluation, reassignment of duties of a public officer, employee, town manager, annual evaluation. We now adjourn into executive session.